Week 4, your challenge is the same format as last week except with a plank. Hold it for as long as you can with good form, then take a short break. Then hold it for another 30 seconds altogether, no matter how many sets it takes to get to 30. I guess I use a timer? I guess I have to count. I mean, I guess it depends on how good I am at counting then. Okay. Five, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Oh. 23, 23. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay, this is 52-week challenge week. How big it's for. I have no concept of time here. I'm in Krabi, Thailand. It's pretty dope. And my challenge this week is two parts. Part one is basically think of a time when I'm traveling, either this trip or if again things really happen on this trip, any trip in general, where something has happened that sort of unlocked something for me, or just changed how I saw things. And then part two is basically 3 things that I do when I'm planning my trips. I'm on a rope swing, to make it fun, and not stressful or not a hassle or anything like that. So first part is nothing too much has happened as far as unlocking things, or being super life-changing in this trip. We've just been kind of having fun. But the time that comes to mind was when I went to Paris a couple years ago. It was my first solo trip. And this was during COVID, because I like to travel during times when I shouldn't. So, but basically, as I was getting ready to leave, this is when the entry requirements for the US changed while I was abroad. So originally I had to have a COVID test within 72 hours of leaving. And then while I was there, they changed it to being within 24 hours. So very long story, very short, I had to have a mad scramble to get my COVID test done when I didn't have one scheduled because the timing changed. I was not even in Paris that day. I was out of the town. So like I said, long story, it became very stressful and I did not know if I was going to be able to get to go home. So I was, I like to panic and stress out about things I don't necessarily need to panic and stress out about, but that one felt valid. And I just kind of got to a point where I realized, like, worst case scenario, I'm stuck in Paris. There are worse fates. And so I just kind of sort of had this moment where I realized, like, okay, the worst thing that could happen is that I just have to spend more money, get another hotel. I'm stuck in France a little bit longer than I expected. I'm not going to lose my job. I'm not going to lose my house. It's just an inconvenience. And that's kind of helped me to, since then, realize things are going to go wrong. Life's going to happen. Shit does not go according to plan. And I have the ability to roll with it. I was in another country by myself, didn't know anybody, and I was able to make it work and end up getting home on, when I meant to. But it helped me realize I'm a little more capable of managing stressful situations than I gave myself credit for, and that freaking out or worrying about it doesn't actually change anything. I just have to get through it. So that was definitely it unlocked some stuff for me. Part 2, 3 things I do when I'm planning my trips to keep them from being stressful. The first one is, if anyone knows me, I like to make Google Sheets. I get real type A about planning trips, and this isn't necessarily something I recommend for everybody, but it does help me personally. Because that gives me, I take, months ahead of time. I do my research. I check out, what things are important for me to do. I try and find the best dates. I make sure that when I know which things are important to me when they're open, when, things might be going on that would make it difficult for me to go to those things. And just researching the area in general, things I need to know, just makes it a little bit easier to kind of know what I'm getting into. The second one actually kind of ties into that story I just told, which is expect shit to go wrong. I like to say traveling is like a wedding. Something's going to happen. Something's going to go wrong. It's just unavoidable, and just making sure that you are emotionally ready for that helps me a lot. I also like to, sometimes I feed into the anxiety a little bit, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what if this happens? And I kind of play this game like, okay, what if it does happen? Okay, this is worst case scenario. Okay, if that happens, this is what I'll do. And that way I can kind of self-soothe a little bit and be like, okay, if that happens, I have a plan. I'm not, SOL. And then the third one is just be flexible. I just, go in knowing like, okay, these are the things that are important to me, but they may not work out exactly as I want them to. It may not happen when I want it to. I may not get to do everything I want to do. It kind of again feeds into the first one, shit goes wrong. So one thing that helps me is before I go on a trip is just, again, mentally getting myself to the place of be flexible. Don't get set on things happening a certain way, because sometimes shit goes way off the rails and it's awesome and it ends up being way better than you expected. And that's one of the fun parts about traveling. So I just kind of make sure I'm in the right headspace before I travel, so that I'm not like rigid about it. And that makes it a lot less stressful.